We are TFR.
My faith in destiny is all I need to prevail.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome. We are broadcasting live from the mothership. You are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host jonahbolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, what's up, Spaceship Earth? Thanks for tuning in. You are now receiving a live transmission from Starseed Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. I'm your host, jonahbolt, the arcturianstarseed, and today is Wednesday, October 21st, 2015. It has been a great week so far. Hope everyone is having an awesome week as well. Please also check out starseedradio.com for the latest news and updates. We're always posting up news articles and stay informed. We always have space weather and earth change trackers on starseedradio.com. And if you haven't received our free Shungite, amazing quantum healing stone, please email us or contact us at starseedtechnologies.com. You could fill out the form there or call our toll-free number 888-400-2328. And, of course, check out Starseed Gold. It's an amazing new gold saving and currency platform. So check out starseedgold.com. It's an amazing, amazing bartering system based on gold. And you could also get a MasterCard to spend your gold just like the dollar, which is a fiat currency. So it's a great way to turn your fiat money into gold. Check out starseedgold.com, where you can contact us directly or me directly, and I'll be more than happy to speak to you about that. Also, don't forget this Sunday we have our Synergy Oneness of the Elements event featuring some amazing guest speakers. We had Laura Eisenhower on the show yesterday, so a shout out to Laura. We're all happy she's feeling better. We also have Corey Love coming on. We have Philip Gruber coming on. Laura Eisenhower, like I said, and Charles Gilchrist. So check out synergyoneness.com, and if you buy all packages, you'll get the fifth element for free. Again, that's synergyoneness.com. With that, we're going to get the show started with our daily quote, and it goes like this. Don't look for a partner who is eye candy. Look for a partner who is soul food. That quote, Karen Salmansohn. Thank you, Karen. Great quote, especially down here in the dirty South, in South Florida, where I'm at right now, broadcasting live. It is filled with eye candy, so it's good to hear a quote like that. Don't look for a partner who is eye candy. Look for a partner who is soul food. A-ho to that. Now we're going to jump into some top headlines. We're going to be joined by Neil from Portal to Ascension during his piece with some spoken truth, spoken word, slam jam poetry. But first, some top headlines of what is going on today. Colorado County criminalizes off-grid living. Punishment like a crime. This is a new article, just came out yesterday. I can't believe this. There was a time in America, not so long ago, when there was no grid, or at least for those who lived outside of urban centers. To live self-sufficiently in rural areas was the rule rather than exception. People knew how to survive without electricity, running water, sewage systems, or any other services provided by municipalities or power companies. Their style of living may seem far in the past for most of us, but a growing number of people have realized that off-the-grid living may not only represent a happier and healthier existence, and may also be the key to survival when disaster strikes. That is 100% correct, and that is what we focus on here. The situation in California has become so tense. Colorado. There have been recently confrontations between authorities and off-grid landowners as the county attempts to essentially criminalize their lifestyle. Now, I was just out in Colorado about 6 months ago. I visited Crestone, Colorado Springs. Crestone, I would say mostly all the houses are out there off-grid. They're so spaced out, lots of solar panels, rain collecting. It's even illegal. It's illegal to collect rain in several states here in the U.S., if you could believe that. It's true. out of control. Now Colorado has passed this, making it new land use regulations require electricity, water, and sewer systems to be installed before landowners can obtain a building permit, making it illegal to live off-grid. I never thought we would see the day of that happening. Here it is. Another cholesterol, pharmaceutical drug story. We've been talking about these for a while. Another scam exposing cholesterol drugs cause rapid aging, brain damage, and diabetes. I myself have very high cholesterol, but I refuse to get on Lipitor and all this other crap they want to send me on for that very reason. Cholesterol drugs cause rapid aging, brain damage, and diabetes. Another top article today, school shooters rise from the dead to tweet their support for psychiatric drugs. Interesting article and yet another twisted example of a staged corporate social media campaign. Big Pharma recently hired a shadowy online public relations firm to launch a staged social media campaign to promote psychiatric drugs among Americans' youth. Now, we've been talking about the psychiatric drugs, how mostly every school shooter so far has been linked to being on psychiatric drugs, which is why we are thumbs down for pharmaceutical companies. Doctor Without Borders, bombed by the Pentagon, opposed the TPP. Doctors Without Borders recently evacuated parts of the Middle East because we mistakenly bombed them. Oops, sorry about that. It was a hospital. Oops, sorry about that. That was a wedding. 40 people dead. Oops, oops, oops. You seem to be hearing this a lot over the last 6 months. We've had several mistaking bombings in different parts of the Middle East. Just a few weeks ago, we mistakenly bombed a hotel where now Doctors Without Borders has pulled out completely. That was in Afghanistan where we did that. Now, the group is opposing the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, a massive 12-nation, quote-unquote, free trade treaty that is far from free trade. The trade pact, which involves the U.S., Japan, and 10 other Pacific Rim countries, is on high on President Obama's final term to-do list, as his administration has been negotiating it for the past 5 years. We've been talking about it for 5 years. We're totally opposed to this. It would likely ban GMO labeling, laws in the U.S. and 11 countries. It would permit the marketing of dangerous big pharma drugs to America. They don't have to list anything like clone milk, clone meat, things like that. As well as they just happen to be claiming all the world's resources. That's right. If you have a lake or a river on your private property in the U.S., within the TPP, that is now the corporate river and lake. This is not something we want. The TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is far from a free trade agreement. Just like Agenda 21 is creeping into all of our major cities using nice words like sustainable and sustainable living. Agenda 21 is far from sustainable. It is far from sustainable living. They're just using words to disguise the master agenda. Seriously, people, wake up. Another top news article in the headlines today. Total blackout about Fukushima. The truth by U.S. media, sailors suffer and die while denial continues. We've talked about this before. Some of our own U.S. sailors have died from the radiation. One of our ships was over there giving help. And this just goes to show that, yes, Fukushima is alive and kicking. It is not something to be ignored. There are people still dying from that, including some of our own U.S. soldiers. So please, let's not forget or ignore that huge, it should be a world problem, I would say huge catastrophic Earth event is just sitting there, still leaking radioactive waste into the air. This should be a worldwide, international problem, not just Japan's problem, as we've left it to Japan. One more top article before we get started, and this one is another article we've been talking about for a while, but it's a new one. Believing vaccines are safe because Big Pharma says so is just as stupid as believing cigarettes are safe because Big tobacco companies say so. Great headline, how true it is. This article goes on to show that there is no evidence that immunizing vaccines cause autism, while with any complications arising from their administration to children are extremely rare. New analysis composed of 67 research studies have discovered. There is strong evidence that the MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine is not associated with autism, the study's results said. RT cites a Pediatrics official journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics study titled Safety to Vaccines Used for Routine Immunizations. We found evidence that some vaccines are associated with serious AEs, adverse effects. However, these events are extremely rare and must be weighted against the proactive benefits of vaccines. The report's conclusions are hardly convincing. But what's more troubling is the immense conflict of interest from which the report itself was written. The authorities include Margaret A. Malone, Lapidus Das, Laura Ron, Alexandria Smith, Rami Sari, and many others, all who are corporately funded by the think tank, the RAND Corporation. So once again, the report comes out and says, we have found evidence that some vaccines are reported associated, but however, these events are extremely rare, they must say. Oh, imagine that. All the panelists of the report happen to be corporately funded by the think tank, the RAND Corporation. Oh, how nice. The RAND Corporation, if people do not know, Google them. The report itself was funded by the U.S. government, the RAND Corporation, which its authors were drawn into funding by various corporations. Isn't that nice? The corporations are funding and they're paying for everyone's salary. So, of course, the report's going to come out the way they want people. Time to wake up. I'll post all these articles on starseedradio.com for everyone to check out and review and see and learn this information from yourself. Stop the vaccines. Stop the pharmaceutical drugs. Stop giving our children drugs. ADD, ADHD, blah, 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 blah. All these different things are labeling the kids. There's nothing wrong with your children. This goes right into Common Core, which is totally reprogramming your children and dumbing them down. So if you do have kids out there, please Google and YouTube Common Core, and please read and educate yourself on what they're teaching your children in school. Because the parents and friends of mine that have kids that I've turned on to that have been shocked and blown away. So please check out Common Core. With that, we're going to jump to our Wednesday daily segment, which is the Portal to Ascension. We're joined by Neil from Portal to Ascension, who is always dropping some amazing knowledge and spoken truth and spoken word in such an amazing form. With that, Neil, Star Brother, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good morning, brother. I'm great. How are you?
Doing awesome, doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Florida. It's nice and windy, so we are all up and about just the beautiful weather here today. So it's been good, but give us a quick download if you can, Neil, a little bit about Portal to Ascension, what it's about, the platform, and what you're doing with that organization.
Yep. Portal to Ascension, we have been doing webinars for the last year and a half of all things in relation to consciousness. We create events on ancient civilizations, self-empowerment, quantum physics, metaphysics, anything and everything that can really assist in uplifting humanity and raising our personal and collective vibration so that we can usher in a new paradigm that is now emerging. So we're basically a central hub, and our whole intention is to take this awareness on an exponential level. There's a lot of people waking up on the planet, but just from watching the news and just being out in the world, I can see a lot of people aren't aware of the truth and the manipulation and how to change it and shift it to create a better life for themselves. So Portal to Ascension is using the internet to create this webinar platform, using different various marketing tools, connecting with worldwide speakers, and bringing it to places that they don't have these local events there. They don't have a meditation place to go to, a holistic center. All they have is the internet. And some places that we do these events at, they have sporadic internet, like a place in India that there was a family sitting around watching our Stephen Greer webinar. So we're really giving people the opportunity to tap in. And on top of that, what I really love is, like, I literally feel that say there's like 200-300 people on a webinar, that we're literally creating an energetic grid of all these dots connecting like the meridian lines of the planet and just waking it up. And if something beautiful happens when we come together in numbers, and what we're doing is creating a platform where thousands of people can all join online at the same time, and we can all share the same awareness together. So that's what Portal to Ascension is all about. We actually just launched our new website today. So portaltoascension.org is our website. All of our old webinars are up there. Please check it out. Also, go check out our upcoming webinars. And if you want to sign up for a newsletter, you can do so on our website.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Star Brother, for all the service and work you do. Portal Ascension is bringing the best names around the world, giving it a platform, a one-stop shop, if you will, to find out and learn all about the amazing metaphysics and just physics and psychics and all just different levels of all the information we've been turned on to. I mean, since I've awoken, it's just like what they say, down the rabbit hole you go. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going, and it's unbelievable to be part of these great times. There's so much amazing information, so many amazing things happening, and it's just a blessing to be living in these exciting times with everybody. So with that, Neil, you're going to do some spoken word. This is slam jam poetry, and we've had Neil slow it down a little bit so people can hear it more clearly, because usually slam jam goes so fast it's very hard to understand unless you're hip like me and Neil. We're going to slow it down a little bit, and Neil's going to do some spoken truth, some spoken word, and I know he has a special word of the day.
Yeah, so let me do this spoken word piece first, and then I'll go into the word of the day.
Excellent. Sounds good.
So this is actually a combination. I just went through my archives this morning, and I picked out two pretty awesome ones, and I put them together. So I'm going to flow into one into the other one. And the name is Solar System. It's the one time that I remember I was there. In another solar system through the telescope I would stare. Light years away, my home base, shunned away by the intergalactic reincarnated wasteful disgrace to the human race. Is what happens when we forget our place in space, universally laced mental depictions of interdimensional gods. Retrench your thoughts and just bow your head and nod. Conform to the norms of civilization. Facing the masons, tasting the physical. Listen to the desires that seep through. I will come and meet you at the gates when you are here. There will be no more living in fear. So I can feel it. It's the moment. The moment draws near. For years we've been purging our fears, letting go of the old energies, making new room for the new frequencies. I know we all feel these on some level. Higher dimensional, higher multidimensional entities, embracing our galactic families, emissaries of unconditional love, the one vibration that fits all creation like a glove. I know sometimes this incarnation can seem tough, with masons illuminating manipulations, facing, tasting, wasting our life away. We must remember the lessons that we're here to play. We chose to be here today. Nothing external to you, to yourself you pray. There is only one speck of light, experiencing itself in multiple forms within our sight, taking us to new heights. So go against the norm, no longer conform. When one transitions, there's no reason to mourn. Don't scorn, take out the thorn. The crystalline children are now being born. There is no devil waiting for you with horns. There is only love. The vibration showering us descended straight from densities above. We must stand up and say enough, take our power back. With peace and understanding, there's no reason to attack and energize fear as they are reflections of us. Time to trust our brothers and sisters. This is all a self-imposed test. So don't worry, you got the job. Put your concerns to rest. Through the darkness, the light will firmly nest into the dimension that is next. The moment is now to resurrect the Christ consciousness. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much again, Star Brother, for your amazing, amazing flow of truth and knowledge that it comes so just amazingly through such a platform like that, which is Slam Jam, which is you really have to think fast. So I know that you are a quick thinker when you are thinking of truth and really channeling that information. So thank you again, always.
Thank you, brother.
So good, yes. And if you would, Neil, talk about a little of the upcoming events you have. Maybe get some details and send people to the correct web platforms with some email address,
Sure.
Websites.
First, let me say the word real quick. So the word for today is vibration. And what I really want to talk about in regards to vibration is how it's metaphysical and connected to quantum physics. Vibration is measured in hertz. Now, we all heard the term raise your vibe, I can feel good vibes. Increase your vibration in the esoteric community is really a whole thing about taking your vibration to the next level in order for you to expand your consciousness, basically. So the connection to quantum physics is that vibration is measured in hertz and frequencies, and quantum physics is basically the study of vibration and the vibrating universe. So When you raise your vibration, literally vibrating your frequency. You're made out of atoms, and mainstream science has now proven that atoms aren't even solid matter. That atoms are not only 99.9% space, but the rest of it is just vibrating. It's just constantly vibrating in and out of perceived reality. Like, you're here, you're not here, but when I look at you, I see you as solid matter. You look just like a regular being. I can touch you. I see you as solid matter. I don't see you like you truly are, which is a vibrating being. The reason for that is our eyes, within this dimension that we exist in, can only perceive a certain range of frequency. So as long as we can perceive that frequency, we only see things from this disconnection, with this illusion of everything being solid. Now, what's happening on the planet is the vibration is increasing. The frequency of our solar system is increasing. We're entering back into the photon belt, or we are in the photon belt of our Milky Way galaxy. There's a galactic wave hitting our planet. There's galactic alignments. One central turn around our zodiac, one central turn around our black hole, one central turn around our universe, all happening at the same time, increasing the ether levels, which is the fifth element, which all elements come from. And the ether just has a vibratory increase effect on everybody. So now we exist on this planet that has been in a lower density, lower dimension. We're entering a part of our galaxy and our universe that is very higher vibratory. So it's increasing our personal frequency. So the rate at which your atoms vibrate are now increasing. So once that happens and we get to a certain level, we're no longer in this dimension, this range of dimensional frequency. So this is how it's connected to us shifting into the higher dimensions, that we're literally physically increasing our frequency through the awareness we share, through the consciousness that we're sharing on this network and a portal to ascension, and then through just the galactic alignments. So when we get to a certain level, we will shift. So I just want to say out there that, like, things look crazy right now, and the darkness, really, the shadow that casts, or when the light gets brighter, the shadow that casts it gets longer. So what's happening right now is that all these mechanisms, all these things that are inorganic and really aren't for the betterment of humanity, are decaying, and the only way they can decay is by falling. And that seems like a very lower vibratory thing, but what's really happening is the vibration is increasing so much that all those things need to play themselves out, so they no longer need to happen and occur on this planet. So I just want to say out there, just no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what stress is going on, just realize that we are all interconnected, that we're all raising our vibrations, that this game of life that is happening is soon to be over, and the next chapter in our existence is going to start really soon.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And if you would, go into a little bit about the upcoming events. We have about 5 minutes left, so give some information. What amazing speakers do we have coming up?
All right, so this weekend we have 2 events. We have the Unified Field of Nassim Haramein featuring Jamie Jan over on Saturday. So he's going to talk about Nassim's work, his lifelong journey, and what the Unified Field theory is, which is the theory of basically everything and how everything's connected. And then Sunday we have Synergy, Oneness of the Elements. We're doing the second one in the series, which is Earth, and it's going to be around sacred geometry. And then we also have Laura Eisenhower, who's going to be talking about the return of the divine feminine. And this one is going to be an epic event. It's going from 1 to 5 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time, which is 4 p.m. starts at 4 p.m. on the East Coast. It's going to be a 4-hour event. And as always, by attending our webinars, you get unlimited replays forever. So go ahead and go to our website, portaltoascension.com, and check out our upcoming webinars, register for them, and once you register, you'll get all the links on how to access it, and then we'll send you the replay access afterwards.
Excellent. Thank you. And can you give a little background on some of the upcoming events after the new year? I know you guys are a lot of stuff going on. Give them a whole rollout of all the awesome events.
Let's do it. I'm going to pull it up then. Well, we have the Starseed Summit coming out on November 21st, and that one I'm really excited for. Jonah is going to be hosting that one, and we have Laura Eisenhower, Dr. Dream, we have Michael Tellinger, Gordon Ashar Davidson, and we also have Julia Cannon, who is the daughter of Dolores Cannon. And Dolores Cannon was on our first webinar when we started a year and a half ago for the Starseed Summit 1. So this is very synchronistic because Dolores passed away just a few months after that. And the next Starseed Summit, which is our first time ever doing a repeat webinar like this, Julia Cannon is going to be basically bringing Dolores' information on extraterrestrial heritage and the hypnosis work that they did that really connected them to finding out about people's extraterrestrial lives, and also finding out about the life between lives, on when before you incarnate into this planet, that you basically come up with your contract. She actually regressed people to the point of when they were coming up with their contracts with their family and different beings on this earth before they incarnated. So that one's going to be really amazing. Starseed Summit on November 21st. And then following that, we have William Henry. He's going to do the Jesus Star Child Disclosure, and I'm extremely excited for this one. If you don't know William Henry, he's been featured on Ancient Aliens, and he's been doing this for a long time. When I first woke up in 2000, I actually found his stuff on Netflix, and him and Jordan Maxwell were two huge people that really started my whole awareness. But the Jesus Star Child Disclosure is all about evidence backing up that Jesus wasn't even human, that he was an ET hybrid or came from some sort of other dimension. So he's going to do a 4-hour presentation on December 5th, disclosing all this information and releasing it to the public. And I really recommend being there for that, especially if you like ancient history and learning about Egypt and Sumerians and stuff. He does a really good job. He's a great presenter. And then following that, we have the Christ Consciousness Conference on 12/12/2015. The purpose for this one, I wanted to do this a couple years ago, but we had to wait until now to get the right people for this. So the purpose for this is Christ consciousness. Obviously, it's Christmas that month. So the reason we're doing Christ consciousness is because the real reason for Christmas or Christ is to raise the consciousness. It's the Christ consciousness that we all embody, which is frequencies that are going to really assist us in shifting into the highest dimension. So the Christ consciousness webinar will be on 12/12/2015. And go to our website, portalsense.org. All the new webinars will be up there as of tomorrow, and you can go ahead and register for them. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Star Brother. Portal to Ascension.
Phoenix Rising Radio with Phoenix, Monday through Thursday on Truth Frequency Radio.
The greatest form of control is where you think you're free when you're being fundamentally manipulated and dictated to. One form of dictatorship is being in a prison cell and you can see the bars and touch it. The other one is sitting in a prison cell but you can't see the bar, you think you're free. What the human race is suffering from is mass hypnosis. We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
It's like we all know what's going down, but
All right, welcome back to the show. You're listening to Starseed Radio. Check out starseedradio.com for the latest news and updates. We're always posting up awesome stuff. And check out Starseed Technologies and Starseed Gold, the world's first gold savings and exchange program. It's awesome. I'm involved. A lot of my team is involved. You should be involved. It's really, really doing amazing things across the planet. So learn more about it, please. Now we're joined by one of our special panelists for our Synergy Oneness of the Elements webinar coming up this Sunday. This man needs no intro, but I'll give you a little background on him. He is living down in beautiful Costa Rica, where I've been living the last 2 years as well. I'll be back there next weekend. Thank God. South Florida is a little intense for me, but it's been good to be back in the dirty South and see the family and friends and deal with that. But it's always good to return back to the Pura Vida lifestyle. With that, we're going to welcome Cory Love to the show. Good morning, Cory. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks so much for joining us. And I didn't give a full background on you because I wanted really to start off, Cory, if you would, and telling your story on your awakening process. I know that you have died literally over 300 times by unique condition that you were suffering from. So if you would, please give us the story, the background on how you first became awakened to these energies, to chakras, and how you got into sacred geometry, which is what you'll be speaking about this Sunday.
Well, my story is a little unique. It all started with a car accident and a pretty severe brain injury. I lost my long-term memory from before the accident, and my short-term memory, fluctuated between about 3 to 5 days. So if you asked me what I did last week, I honestly, I just wouldn't be able to tell you, because there was just nothing there after about 3 to 5 days. Obviously that had a lot of effect on like my own personal life and who I was as a person. For quite a few years, I was really stuck in the moment. And, I was always super happy and having fun until I realized that my memory was gone. And it took about 4 years to understand what was actually wrong with my brain from the car accident, because you don't know you're missing memory when it's just not there. You just you're not expecting it. So it took about 4 years to realize that. And, then once I did, I started questioning everything that I was doing. And that was kind of the downward spiral from there. Because your mind does, when you can't look back and you can't remember, you don't know how many times you've made a mistake before. You can't really calibrate how serious a situation is. And, that's kind of where my life started to unfold. And, my brain would hit these overload states. I used to go into these really intense seizures when my brain would hit these overloads. What happens with people's brain is, when say you get into an argument with your friend and you're kind of upset about it, and afterwards you're kind of like, okay, well, that's fine. We've been hanging out for like 5 years. It's not really that big of a deal, and you can kind of like neutralize your brain because you have memory. And because I didn't have that memory, my brain wouldn't have the ability to neutralize. And so what happened, it would just keep getting worse and worse. So one little, incident that wasn't even a big deal within like 2 days would spiral so out of control that I was, that I'd kind of be a little bit suicidal and going crazy in my head. And eventually it would just overload my brain and I'd go into seizures, and my brain then would just shut down. I'd go into a form of paralysis, and then I could feel my senses shutting down and my organs would shut down and it'd be tough to breathe, and then I'd just black out and I wouldn't remember anything after that. And I wake up about 5 minutes later and I could start picking up what was happening again. My senses started to turn back on, and I was basically watching my brain load up, like reboot, as if you rebooted your computer when it froze up. And, within about 30 minutes of my brain rebooting and my body rebooting, I'd be feeling good and normal, but it wouldn't stop there. It would just keep loading up more and more energy. And next thing you know, I was like full on hallucinating. I was like seeing into the walls, and there's like cities in my bedroom walls, and there's people that would come up and they start talking. And, I was like on a full blown DMT experience, that was more stable than DMT. But this would happen approximately every 5 days for about 5 years before I figured out how to like stabilize it and fix my brain. So, and these experiences would last anywhere from an hour, and as more time went by, the longest one was they started to get up to about 12 hours, and then the longest one lasted for 4 days, where I was just like fully immersed in these psychedelic hyperdimensional states. So in there, that's where I started learning all about sacred geometry, and I started learning about energy, and that's really what got me started. I met some beings, and they talked about, our purpose in life is to overcome time. That's what we're really at war with, is time, because we only have so much time to solve the body before our body breaks down. And our real purpose is to figure out how to regenerate the energy in the body and to live forever. So that's what I got told was our purpose. That's what I've been working on, in my life ever since, is how to regenerate energy in the body, how to heal our own self, and how to unlock these higher senses and abilities and keep them activated permanently. So, and that's what I still do today.
What an amazing story. I mean, coming from a background where you're just totally losing your memory and what that must have felt like. I can't even imagine. You can't even remember what you did yesterday, and having times of blackouts. What do you think when you said you made a comment? You met other beings. Now I know from ayahuasca, DMT, when you leave your body and you start to astral travel, when you go to higher dimensions, you interact with other beings. You were having those experiences at the same time when you were losing consciousness?
Well, it was actually afterwards. Once I'd actually come back to, my body would be going through this reboot, and it just didn't stop loading up more energy. So I just, it was like, it was like taking 10 hits of LSD, and just my body would just keep loading up more and more energy. It wouldn't stop. Part of the not being able to connect with my own personal story, I didn't have these hooks. When you're going through, say, like an ayahuasca experience or a psychedelic experience, your energy can only get so high until eventually you get caught up on some storyline that's inside, and that's where you spin out. And that's what caps the amount of energy that you actually have access to, from the psychedelic. And so I didn't have that connection because I didn't have that same personal story. So the energy would just keep loading up, and I would never overload. Eventually my physical body would overload, and it couldn't handle the amount of energy that was running through it, and that's what would overload it. But my mind would never hit that overload, and that's what caps people in their level of energy that they can access.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Now, how was your family and friends responding to this? Did you have someone sort of watch over you? Was this something that you did sort of in your own space, or did you have family members, friends watch you and help you work through this time?
I tried to hide it as much as possible. I'd have about 30 minutes notice when I knew I was going to start going into seizures. So, if I was at school, I'd basically just ask to go to the washroom, and I'd leave the school, and I'd go to like an alley, and I'd go through this whole thing.
Wow, that's crazy.
You want to be is a freak show, And, eventually my parents found out, because you can't hide it forever. And, but I was really lucky. I had an amazing girlfriend, at the time, and she kind of was, I just let her know what was happening. So she was there for me, a lot of times when it would happen, I'd tell her about what I was seeing, and, she thought it was crazy, but I
get out of here.
Crazy,
Right. Wow. Now let's go into a little bit about the sacred geometry. Now, through this experience, you started learning and opening up to more about sacred geometry because of these experiences. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sacred geometry, I like to call it the language of the gods. We use language to describe what we're seeing, with our eyes. And we use sacred geometry to describe what we can't see, with our eyes. So we use that to describe what's invisible and these invisible processes. Besides losing my memory, which was a negative, the brain injury came with a positive, which was the ability to see complex patterns in nature. Because I didn't get tied up in the story, I could sit from an outside perspective and watch everybody playing their patterns and playing their rhythms. When I was in high school, I had always freaked my friends out because I was like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna go, our one buddy's gonna go through this tomorrow. This is what he's gonna do, and the next day he's gonna do this, and they'd be like, whatever, and then he'd play it out, because I just learned everybody's rhythms and where they'd have their psychological patterns and breakdowns, and everything runs like clockwork once you can see all these patterns. So that was my positive that I got out of the car accident, and it was through all this pattern recognition. That's where I've made all these realizations and connections with sacred geometry, and then how that affects the body and the brain, and how it how we can use that to open ourselves up.
Now, when you talk about sacred geometry being the language of the gods, can you explain and talk about to the listeners what is sacred geometry from its fundamental, state? What is it? And then maybe if you can go back into the ancients, we see the flower of life all over the ancient societies and civilizations. Maybe a little history on sacred geometry. What is sacred geometry to someone who has no clue what it is?
The easiest way you can think about sacred geometry is when you get a new poster, from the store, and you go put it up in your room, and your room feels different. You change around, you move your bed over to the other side, you put your table and TV on, you reorganize your room, and then you stand it, and you're like, okay, yeah, this feels better. I like this. That's sacred geometry right there. You paint the walls in your house a different color, and it feels different. That's sacred geometry. So, all art essentially is sacred geometry, because all art is going to affect the way that you feel, or affect the energy inside of a space. When you get into more fundamental sacred geometry, which is just like pure shapes, and some of the stuff I was creating with Sacred G is all you're basically using is geometrical shapes to establish certain types of patterns and sequences. And if the shapes are actually in motion and creating energy and transferring energy from one part to another, and the amount of shapes or what types of shapes you're using access different types of memory systems inside the body. And so once you start to learn that actual language, you can use geometrical patterns to influence not just the way that you feel, but you can influence entire systems inside your own body for how you're actually functioning.
Now, what about the ancient history of sacred geometry? What are some of the cultures, and why did some of the indigenous people put so much time and energy into sacred geometry? What do you think they understood about it?
Sacred geometry is what you see, when you do any type of ayahuasca or plant medicine, so it definitely all originates from there. And then once you start seeing it, your brain can't help but want to understand, what's this pattern, what's this symbol, what does that mean? The flower of life is if you can focus in, a lot of people talk about seeing energy fields, and they're like, oh, your energy field is blue or it's green. If you can develop your eyesight, instead of just seeing some shaded colors, around a person, what you end up seeing is sacred geometry. And the flower of life is actually a 3D sphere that's wrapped all around our bodies. That's the actual structure or shape of our fields, that protect us from outside influences and, external forms of vibration, that would, if they got through those fields, it would cause, total havoc on our bodies.
Now, when you talk about the vibrational raising of sacred geometry, why does sacred geometry raise your vibration? Why does it change the energetics?
Well, I don't know if it's as much as raising the vibration as shifting it. When you have really complex, and intricate designs that have a lot of layers to them, that's going to go through your own memories and your own information inside your brain. We developed with our Sacred G technology that you can actually start putting these designs underneath your bed. You can put them under a glass of water, and you can drink the water, and you literally can taste a difference in the water. If you put them under your mattress, you start dreaming. And if you sleep on a whole bunch of them, that's what we figured out. Instead of just putting one sheet under your mattress, if you put 1,000 sheets under your mattress, you start having the craziest dreams ever. And that starts reorganizing the way that all your information is stored in your brain. And so as it's reorganizing, it's also unlocking new information. It's unlocking new perceptions. And so that's where I say it doesn't necessarily mean it's higher, it's just different. And so as we unlock more and more perceptions, what happens is we gain more understanding, a greater level of depth. We start to be able to detect patterns, because we don't have just one perspective. We have 3 or 5 or 10 different perspectives. So our understanding of information becomes more accurate and more truthful. And that is, in turn, what brings us up to a higher level of consciousness.
Now, when someone first has an experience with, say, ayahuasca, you mentioned a few plant medicines, ayahuasca, San Pedro, there's, there's many of them, I can't think of all of them, but when you have these experiences with these higher vibrational plant medicines, how do you tie sacred geometry in that? You're saying by the visions and patterns you see. I've done ayahuasca myself down in Peru with the Shipibo tribe, San Pedro, I've experienced with different ceremonies. I've definitely seen sacred geometry patterns, forms. Why do you think that correlation is? Why do you think those plant medicines tie in or show you sacred geometry?
Well, I went through it's like a visual evolutionary process, when I went through all these near-death type of experiences or visions. And at first, when I was just looking around, the ceiling was waving and there was colors, all over the place. And everything was just brighter. And then, instead of the ceiling just waving, it started turning into these little dots. and pink and green dots and sometimes yellow dots, and then the dots turned into numbers, and letters and little symbols. And then the numbers and letters started scrolling around on the walls, and that's that matrix, from the Matrix movie with the numbers and letters that scroll vertically. I saw that same thing, except they were scrolling horizontal, on all the walls. And then these symbols, they start getting larger. Your brain starts connecting, putting more information together instead of just letters. It starts forming words, and then it forms symbols, and eventually it forms faces. So, and you can look in the walls, and you'll see faces pop out. If you look in the trees, or if you look in wood, faces start popping out of there too, and that's where nature starts coming alive. And if you keep developing your eyes, then you can see the full body, and the face, and the head, so you see the person's full body. And then if you get enough energy and you pop through, what happens is that all these bodies all of a sudden start animating, and you're in a fully immersive, like, animated 3D environment. And that's where everything comes alive, as people dancing, like, I remember when I popped through like that, I was 16, and I was looking up in the sky, and there's like 50,000 goddesses like dancing naked in the skies, and they're in the ground, they're in trees, they're in leaves, they're in the walls, they're everywhere, and that was like the opening of the goddess. So that's but it was an evolutionary process, and so the way that you evolve your eyes is every time you're in a high energy state, you have to close your eyes, and when you do that, your brain will it puts you through your own personal training. It puts you through your own personal experience, or your own personal history. And it makes you, it makes you deal with your life. It makes you deal with who you are, and you have to face yourself inside of there. And the more of that energy that you just accept and just open up to that love and that energy to flow through you, that's what upgrades your senses, and then the next time when you do it again, you actually get higher and your senses open up further.
Now, what are some recommendations, Cory, for some listeners out there about an intro to sacred geometry? What are some things they can do to start to understand? Because we've seen things like crop circles, ancient temples, sacred sites all over the world have sacred geometry and have sacred geometry patterns. What are some good suggestions you could suggest to people to start learning more about sacred geometry?
We're actually, I've got a pretty extensive course, because we developed sacred G technology. If I don't know if you ever saw that episode on Rob and Big, quite a few years ago. I think it was 2009. But they featured sacred geometry on there, and that's where, Rob Dyrdek, he coined the term sacred G, as like a street name, for sacred geometry. And, so he was using our sacred G technology, and putting the posters underneath the mattress and charging up the water, is a really cool episode. So, we've been developing a lot of the technology and ways to apply it. And I think, if you want to learn sacred geometry, it's an experience. It's something you have to actually do. If you read about it, it kind of stays almost like this foreign thing that you don't understand. So it's, it's sleeping on some of these posters and designs and noticing how they affect your dreams. It's like staring at them or meditating or doing breath sequences, while staring at them. There's meditation stations and stuff like that we have online, that you can go in there and do. And we've got 35 different ways that you can use sacred geometry designs. And it's not just limited to, this G designs that I develop. Anybody who's developing sacred G designs or has sacred G stickers, you can use that, charge up your water, notice how it tastes, start developing your actual senses with that. If you close your eyes and meditate, take some of these stickers or designs, put them on your forehead, on the top of your head, on the palms of your hands, put them on your feet, and go through these experiential processes. And when you do, it's like that, it starts to teach you, Another really good thing too is to just get a little compass set and a geometry set and just start kind of making lines and making circles and see how the circles go together and see if you can figure out the patterns in order to be able to create some of the most basic, sacred geometry designs like the flower of life. And, once you kind of get that in your hands and you go through that experience, that's where that language starts to open up to you. That's where your senses start to change and you start to see sacred geometry everywhere.
Now, we see sacred geometry in everything, in plants, in animals, and like you just ended, you can start seeing it everywhere. Give us some examples so the listeners really understand how sacred geometry truly is in everything, if you can.
Well, we have this cool 3D animation that shows what a pyramid is. And, a pyramid, as soon as you change a pyramid from a triangle, and you take it from, a base with two points, and you add that third point in, and now you have a 3D triangle or a 3D pyramid, it shows that pyramid is actually spinning, and it induces this law of energy transfer. So if a pyramid has like 6 sides on it, or if it has 10 sides, or if it's got an infinite amount of sides, we call it a cone. So these pyramids, the way that they work is that they draw in energy up to the capstone from the base. And then once that energy builds up in the capstone, what happens is it actually shoots a beam or a concentrated beam of energy down through the center of the base. And it shoots it out at whatever essentially you're aiming this pyramid at. So that's why when you sit inside of some of these big pyramids and you sit inside the middle, you can feel this blast of energy pulsing down through your body. If you take that geometry a little bit further, what you actually get is your own eyeball. And it shows you how you're actually seeing, and it actually shows how your brain is generating what you see from inside your brain, shooting that energy out of your eyeball, but it actually doesn't leave your eyeball. It bounces off the inside of your eye, and it comes back in through the iris and through the color of your eye, which is like your filter. And it shows you that everything that you're actually seeing in this world is actually all generated from inside your own body. You're actually not seeing anything that's outside of yourself. And, if you get a little bit further into the same way that pyramids transfer energy, you start understanding, oh, wait, well, we have joints and we have bones. And the joint is the actual capstone. And the bones is these streams of energy, that are shooting out of the capstone. And you start to see that our whole anatomy is actually built up off of it. And then if you start studying the golden ratio, then you start seeing, the mathematics of how the actual, the length of your bone structure, so it's not just the way that the energy is transferring from joint to joint through your bones, but it's actually the way that, the length of the bone is actually all determined by, the golden ratio of phi. So there's so many cool things about, just how your face and how your body is built. There's that one guy on the internet. He figured out if you stagger the solar panel, like the cells, if you stagger them using the golden ratio, up on a straight pole, they'll collect 3 times more sunlight than if they were just spread out flat. So it's capturing light the way that light travels, in spirals or in vortexes. So, sacred geometry is so huge. There's so many people that actually have so many components to sacred geometry. No one definitely has the whole system of sacred geometry because it's too big for that. So
absolutely.
You got to study a lot of people.
I don't even think the human brain can absorb the true, language and essence of what sacred geometry is because it's finite. It goes on forever. It entangles everything. It's just flowers, the basic structures. I mean, get into phi, into the golden ratio. It's endless. But Cory, thank you so much for coming on, Star Brother, and I hope you're feeling better from the done day you just went through. And really excited to have you this Sunday on the Synergy webinar. Check out Cory. Cory, what's your website?
It's sacredgeometry.com.
Sacredgeometry.com. That's Cory Love. We'll be with you this Sunday.